Okay.
Alright, so we watched the video, the Brain Pop video on decimals. Does anybody have a question about it? As far as like fractions and decimals, or it was talking about the tenths and hundredths. Did y'all understand that? You don't have to know the irrational numbers and things like that. You don't have to worry about that. Alright, decimal numbers are simply another way to write a fraction. For example, if we have the fraction 5/10, we can write it as 0.5. Now, what place is this 5 in? The tenths, right? So we would read this fraction as 5/10 and this decimal as 5/10, right? It's written or it's read the same way. It's written differently. One's a fraction, one's a decimal, but they represent the same amount and they are read the same way. Yes, Taylor?
In third grade, when we were learning about decimals and fractions, she would give us like this worksheet and homework. We would have to change the fractions of the decimals and the decimals and the fractions.
That's exactly what we're going to be doing in just a little bit. Okay, will you turn off the sound to our speakers? Thank you. Okay, and then this number is 5/100ths, right? 5/100ths, and we write it 0.05. Now, do we read it 0.05? We read it 5/100ths. Very good, Canton. We read it exactly the same way as we read the fraction. Okay, so 5/100ths. How do we know this is 5/100ths?
Because
it
it has
Because the 5 is in the hundredths place. Okay? So this is read and this is read 5/100ths. And it represents the same amount. 5 out of 100 pieces. Right? Alright. Now, this is 5 thousandths or 5,000ths. And how do we read this?
because the 5's in the thousandths place.
5,000ths because the 5 is in the thousandth place. This 0 is in what place?
The tenth.
Tenths. Everybody should be looking and reading it with me or telling me. What place is this 0 in?
The hundredths.
Hundredths, and then the 5 is in the
Thousandths.
thousandth place. Does anybody have a question about how to write that or how to read it? Y'all understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't it supposed to be like 5 to 1s and then 0?
Whatever place the number's in is
I see. You start from this one.
Right.
yeah.
I'm
That's
so
right.
because you know,
Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So you would read that 5,000.
you remember we used to start from 5 and then 2, 5, 10. I mean,
Okay. When you're reading whole numbers, we do ones, tens, hundred. That's right. Okay. So from the decimal to the left, we read to the left. From the decimal to the right, we read to the we count to the right or name to the right. Go back your seat. You should be able to see.
Did you hear what Young said?
No.
He read it backwards. She had a 5,000 when you read it backwards.
Oh, yes, but it wouldn't be like that every
It
time.
wouldn't be like that on that 5 when we 0.5.
All right. Fractions and decimals. The 10 frame above shows 5 out of 10 shaded. As a fraction, that would be written as 5/10 and read 5/10. All right, as a decimal, it would be written as 0.5 and still read 5/10. Do you notice anything about the word forms of fractions and decimals? The word forms, how we read them, how we say them. Fractions and decimals.
With a TH on the end.
Okay, you do say it with a TH if it's a decimal, or if it's a part of a whole, a fraction or decimal, you say it with the TH on the end. But, what do you notice about, if it's written as a fraction, we read it 5/10. When it's written as a decimal, we read it 5/10.
So you read the same?
You read it the same. Okay, it's still read the same. So the word form is the same for fractions and decimals. Okay? Anybody not understand that? Y'all got it?
I'm confused
Michaela, I need your
on
eyes.
the first part where it's 5 slash.
That's the fraction.
That's a different way to write it.
Because on a when you're writing it on a computer, you can't do 5 line 10 like we do when we're writing it. So we use the slash. Okay? Alright. Y'all understand? You good? Alright, now we're going to try it. We're going to do it together. I thought I scooted that over, but.
Yeah.
So they give us the fraction Somebody read this. I was going to read it. Raise your hand if you can read it for me.
2/10.
Raise your hand if you can read it for me. Okay, JJ just told us 2/10. All right. Luke, tell me how to write it as a decimal.
2 decimal 10. No, 0 decimal 2.
Very good. Good job. Way to correct yourself. 0 decimal 2, because that 2 has to be in what place, Luke? Wait, and I'll get there. Just wait, and I'll get there.
10.
It has to be in the tenths. Make sure you say it with THS. If you leave that THS off, it's going to be like it's 2 tens, which would be like 20, right? So you got to say it with the THS on it. All right, so 2 tenths. And of course, the word form is, how do we say it? 2 tenths. And I'm going to write it. 2 tenths.
So go up there and write it.
No, let me just get through it. Okay, let's do it together. All right, 4 tenths. Trust me, you're going to have a chance to do this on your own. Caleb,
They will.
0,
read this for me first.
4 tenths.
Okay, and tell me how to write it.
0 and a 4. 0. And a decimal in the middle.
Okay, and I need a decimal in between, because that 4 has to be in what place?
The I meant the tenths.
Tenths place. Okay, and then we read it how?
4
Anybody?
tenths.
4 tenths with the THS. TH on the end. THS.
Allow there.
Michaela, read this for me.
17.
Okay, tell me how to write it as a decimal.
0.7.
0.7. And everybody, we read it.
17.
17. Katie, read this for me.
19.
Tell me how to write it.
0.9.
We read it.
10.
Tenths.
Would it still be the same if you say point? Would it still sound like decimal?
0.10.
Like 0.9?
0.9?
Yeah.
It's really not the correct way to read it. Now, you telling me to write it that way is perfectly fine. But if I'm reading a decimal, if I wanted the word form and I put 0 decimal 2, that's not correct. Does that make sense? Okay. That's how you write it, yes. But you want to make sure that you know how to read it. We need to understand that no matter if it's written as a fraction or as a decimal, we read it the same.
So,
Okay. We don't say 2/10, do we?
No.
We just read it 2 tenths. Okay.
so like,
Yes, Caleb.
I kind of get this though, but how do you, if it's 4 tenths, why do you put 0 decimal?
You don't have to put a 0. You do not have, and that's a good question, Caleb.
Because the tens are on that side, but you put the 0.
The only reason I put that 0 is to let us know that there's nothing there. You can put decimal 4 and it is the same thing. Okay? I guess that's just habit, putting a 0 decimal 4.
It makes
All you have to have is that decimal and the 4. Okay?
Can I get a tissue?
Yes, you don't have to ask to do that. Okay, did you have a question, Raina?
I was asking like when Caitlin was saying that. So in word form you wouldn't write 0.2.
Right. That's right. You would write it how you say it, how you read it. Okay? Any other questions?
Are we doing any more?
No, we're actually stopping here. Okay, we're going to stop here. We'll talk about decimals on a hundreds grid tomorrow. Okay.
That looks kind of. Oh, you count.
You got it, Jackson.
Do you
Stop it.
not-